Not all forms of dementia are genetic. However, there are plenty of forms of dementia that, of course, can be passed down through genes, making it more likely that an individual will suffer from dementia. And as everybody knows, Fred Trump, the patriarch of the disgusting Trump family tree, suffered from dementia in his last years on this earth. And as mental health experts have warned us, it seems that Donald Trump himself is headed down that path. And now, based on an appearance with Sean Hannity this week, it seems that Donald Trump Jr. might be suffering from some form of cognitive decline. Either that, or perhaps he's just not in his right mind through other means, but he definitely seemed to forget a lot of things that happened in the past during that very awkward interview with Sean Hannity. And he did so by completely ignoring the actual question that Hannity even asked him in the first place. So the whole thing was just a showcase of cognitive decline in a man that, at his age, should not be showing any cognitive issues. So Donald Trump Jr. decides to go on Sean Hannity's program to run a little bit of interference for his dad's administration on the singular issue of the White House demolition. Donald Trump has taken a lot of crap for that. Obviously, you're doing this in the middle of a government shutdown. The optics of it politically, the optics of it visibly, really bad to be building a gilded ballroom as you're also telling Americans you're not going to get your social safety net benefits next month. So, Junior went out there to try to smooth things over for his dad, make it look like everything is totally good. So Hannity asks him a question about it. He says, now, all it takes is one little minor Google search, or you can ask, Grok or ChatGPT, and you'll get an answer within seconds, and you get the whole history of renovations at the White House. So Hannity tees it up for Junior to say, listen, a lot of presidents in the past have come in and made changes to the White House, big renovations, small renovations. Everybody does it, so what's the big deal about your dad doing it? And Junior just went in a whole new direction and responded by saying this. Well, the Democrats aren't exactly the brightest people, Sean. We've seen that this whole week. Everything they say is sort of meaningless, right? They're talking about having a no kings protest. And congratulations, guys. You won. We don't have kings. We have a president that was elected in a landslide electoral college win. Someone who won the popular vote. Someone who won all 7 swing states in a landslide fashion. Someone, by the way, who, if he was king, probably would just reopen the government. But it hasn't worked out that way. If he was a king, he probably would have never left the office the first time. Oh, it gets worse, folks. If he was a king, he wouldn't allow his government to prosecute and persecute him, and he certainly wouldn't allow people to assassinate him, or at least try twice. So this is just the usual Democrat nonsense. Oh boy, it is nonsense. Sure, I'm not gonna argue with you on that. It's not Democrat nonsense. Your whole answer, which wasn't an answer to the question at hand, is what's nonsense, okay? Let's start at the beginning. A very good place to start. First, you say Democrats aren't bright. You were asked a specific question that you didn't answer, and you have the audacity to say that we on the left are not bright? I don't know, man. I haven't seen you at any of those Mensa colloquiums that I've gone to, so I'm going to go with the left is a little bit smarter on that one. But in general, too, you're not a smart guy. Like, you're very dumb, and your response here proves it. Then, of course, yeah, we know we don't have kings. That's the point of the protest. Like, do you not understand that? Are you really that dense? Your dad is acting like a king. He has deployed the United States military into U.S. cities against U.S. citizens. Okay? May not necessarily be a king, but it sure as hell is a dictator. A fascist one at that. Also, You mentioned that your dad, if he were a king, wouldn't have left office the first time. And this is where the cognitive decline comes in, or perhaps the temporary mental impairment, maybe due to something foreign being introduced into your system. I don't know. I mean, we've all seen the video of you reaching into your pocket and then rubbing something on your teeth. So, those of us who come from a party history know exactly what that usually means. I can't say you did or didn't, but you do seem a little amped up a lot of the time, and that's not necessarily natural unless there's something in your body causing it. But your dad did try to stay in office even after he was supposed to leave. January 6th, the Capitol riot, none of that ringing a bell there, Junior? Have you just blocked it out of your brain? Are you on something that made you forget it happened? Or are you suffering from the familial cognitive decline? Because your dad didn't hit that point till his 70s. Your granddad, I think, was also in his 70s, 80s. You are in your 40s. And if you're already exhibiting symptoms of cognitive decline, which your response would suggest to me, then you may want to go ahead and wrap things up and get all your affairs in order, because your brain may not last much longer. And if the rumors about your drug use are true, that is absolutely going to exacerbate the problem. Like, you may fry yourself into full-blown dementia before you hit 50 years old. Again, if those rumors are true, I do not know if they are or not, but there's something wrong with this guy. And that's, I think, the best I can say about it, not to mention, he wouldn't have allowed people to assassinate him if he were a king. You said if he were a king, he would not have allowed people to try to assassinate him. But he's not a king. So he did allow it. I want everybody to understand that real quick, okay? Junior may have just confirmed those conspiracy theories that the whole thing was staged. I'm going to read you his statement again. If he was a king, he certainly wouldn't allow people to assassinate him, or try to at least twice. If he were a king, you wouldn't be allowed to try. But Junior says he's not a king, so they were allowed to try? I don't know. I think that's a pretty big thing there. Granted, a thing coming from somebody who I do believe is suffering from cognitive decline, from somebody who I personally do believe, based on what I've seen in videos, is probably on something as well. So God only knows we can't trust the guy, but kind of seems like something maybe everybody needs to talk about a little more, because that, Junior, was a hell of an admission. I think we have finally moved past the days where people understand that it's not just Donald Trump, right? It's not like all of the problems with today's Republican Party are from Donald Trump or, just related to Donald Trump. It's all of them. I mean, it really is each and every single one of these Republican elected officials out there trying to prove that they are just as disgusting and horrible and evil on the inside as Donald Trump. And this week, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson proved that he is just as much of an insane liar as Donald Trump. Johnson was asked during his daily, government shutdown press briefing, because sure, he'll talk to the press, but he damn sure won't swear in Adelita Grijalva. But he was asked about the threat against Hakeem Jeffries' life, right? House Minority Leader, Democrat Hakeem Jeffries, a pardoned Capitol rioter, threatened to murder him and was arrested several days, by the way, before this press conference even happened. So Johnson was asked about it. And Johnson decided to downplay the threat against Jeffries' life, pretend he didn't even know it existed, which is not even possible, and then go on a lie-filled rant about how all of the political violence in this country is coming from the left. Here's what Johnson said. He goes, "Terrible. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it, but anybody who threatens to kill any political official, we denounce it absolutely." So again, that's not true. This thing has been all over the news for days. It was a pardoned Capitol rioter, which made the news, that much bigger. Somebody Trump let out of prison for committing political violence. And you're like, I didn't even know. It's one of your coworkers. I mean, it is your counterpart on the other side of the aisle. Like, no way you didn't know that. You're an absolute disgusting liar. And then it gets even worse because he adds, "I will tell you this, the violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. The assassination culture that's been advanced now, this is the left in almost every case that is advancing this and not the right. Let's not make this a partisan issue. You don't want me to go there." Oh, I do, motherfucker, I do. The rhetoric that you saw on display Saturday, we highlighted yesterday, it plays into this. There are people that get triggered. There are deranged people in society when they hear elected officials participating in a rally that was paid for by Soros and sponsored by communists with signs and placards and mantras that were repeated that we should bring death to fascist politicians. They call every Republican a fascist now. Nothing that you said was true. Not a goddamn word. You worthless sack of human shit. Like, I'm really, really trying to hold it together right now, but reading your hate-filled lies, honest to God, pisses me off to a level I didn't even know I was possible to get to. But let me tell you something, you worthless piece of crap. Statistics prove you are more than 5 times more likely to be killed by somebody on the right side of the political spectrum than on the left side. Some years, it's 10 to 20 times more likely to be killed by somebody on the right than somebody on the left. Political violence on the left doesn't even total into the dozens per year. Like, not even 24 instances of it per year. Meanwhile, there are usually several hundred instances of political violence from the right every single year, according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies. This is proven. George Soros isn't paying people to protest. These massive protests that showed up on Saturday were organic because people hate you, and they hate the Republican Party, and they hate Donald Trump. Nobody was out there calling for murders. That didn't happen. That simply did not happen. You may have had 1 or 2 yahoos that were not part of anything actually saying that, but also the assassination culture. Oh, you mean the Republican who attempted to kill Donald Trump? You mean the Republican who did kill Melissa Hortman and her husband over the summer? Or the individual who may or may not be on the right, may not be on the left. Y'all can't get your damn story straight that killed Charlie Kirk? But the fact that you guys have had to change your story so much, the Republican administration that is, about that shooter, kind of tells us a lot, right? Like, suddenly y'all all stopped trying to pin it on the left and just gave up. Johnson, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, is a friggin' ghoul. Just absolute, pure effing evil. And I'll just leave it at that. Melania Trump has been basically non-existent from her husband's second term in office. She has spent most of her time either in New York or Florida, and only occasionally pops up, to remind us that, wow, she really hates her husband and is not good at any of this job of being First Lady. But she's been in the news a couple times this week for some pretty nasty stuff. both of them involving lawsuits, but she's only named as the defendant in one of those lawsuits. The first lawsuit, of course, the one in which she is named, has been filed by author Michael Wolff, who, of course, is Donald Trump's least favorite author, a guy he attacks all the time. And recently, Melania Trump had her lawyer, Alejandro Brito, who's also serving as one of Trump's lawyers, threaten to sue Michael Wolff because of things he suggested about Melania's history with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he didn't say those things as statements of fact. He did suggest, of course, that Melania was more involved with Epstein than people may realize. It kind of got into some gray area where he did make some speculation, but again, didn't say anything as a statement of fact. Now, the problem is Melania had her lawyer, Brito, come out and threaten a $1 billion lawsuit against Michael Wolff, saying, if you don't shut up and retract what you already said, we're going to sue you for $1 billion. And Michael Wolff decided, you know what? That is a slap suit. You are basically trying to curtail my First Amendment rights by threatening me into submission. And Wolff, being in New York, where they have very strong anti-slap lawsuits available, decided, I'm going to sue you instead. And he did. And this week, Wolff filed a $1 billion lawsuit against the First Lady of the United States for threatening to sue him. Here is what Wolff said. These threatened legal actions are designed to create a climate of fear in the nation so that people cannot freely or confidently exercise their First Amendment rights. The threats are also intended to shut down legitimate inquiry into the Epstein matter, which the Trumps and their collaborators have at every turn sought to impede and suppress. The lawsuit alleges that Melania's threat of legal action against the author is intended to impede and chill future reporting and writing that Mr. Wolff has committed to doing regarding Epstein, Mr. Trump, and Mrs. Trump, excuse me. So $1 billion because you decided to act like your husband and like, oh, if you don't stop talking about me, I'm going to sue you. And Wolff's like, bring it. I'm going to go ahead and hit you first. And let's see how you like it. Because I believe he's right. They threatened the lawsuit so he'd shut up, basically curtailing his First Amendment rights. So good on Wolff for filing this lawsuit. Now, the other lawsuit, Melania Trump is, of course, not a defendant, but it still involves her deeply. Because the second lawsuit that was revealed this week is the lawsuit against the creators of the Melania Trump meme coin, that, by the way, has lost more than 95% of its value and is now trading at 10 cents per coin. So it's totally worthless now. And that is exactly what the investors in the coin are suing over. They're alleging that the creators of this meme coin, Benjamin Chow and Hayden Davis, effectively ran what's called a pump and dump scheme, which is where you take an investment item, a meme coin, anything like that, an NFT, and you hype it up, you get somebody like Melania Trump to slap her name on it. Suddenly it becomes a hot commodity at first. So the value of it, the price of it goes sky high. That's the pump. Then you got to have the dump. The dump is the initial creators sell all of theirs at that very high price. As soon as it hits that peak, they all sell, they make out like bandits. Everybody else is left holding the bag. And it's at that point they realize, well, wait a minute. If nobody else is willing to buy these things, it actually has zero value. The value is $0. Or in this case, I guess technically 10 cents. But these people bought in for hundreds per coin. And now it's worth a dime. So yeah, they're pretty pissed off. But again, they're not naming Melania Trump in the lawsuit. They said that she was simply window dressing for a crime engineered by Chow and Davis. So, bad week for Melania Trump and anything with Melania's name on it. And I hope both Wolff and the Melania meme coin investors prevail in their lawsuit. Donald Trump thinks that his supporters are stupid. And that's not just me trying to figure out. No, that is according to Donald Trump himself. He believes that his supporters are too stupid to understand what he's doing, and they're just stupid because you're somehow getting hurt by the horrible policies that I am implementing. And Trump took to Truth Social this week to attack a particular group of his supporters, the cattle ranchers, to let them know that you guys are just not bright enough to understand how smart he is. Now, for the backstory of this, of course, for those of you who have not been paying attention, it is with regard to Donald Trump allowing more beef imports to come into the United States from Argentina, pissing off the cattle ranchers because, of course, they don't want competitors. Beef prices are at an all-time high, but also profits for the beef industry are going up. So it's not necessarily just a supply and demand issue, like there's more demand than supply, so the prices go up. That's part of it, sure, but it's also because, as usual, businesses say, well, if we have to raise prices by this much, what if we tack on a little extra? Sorry, that's just what businesses do. You guys have to deal with it as consumers. So it's pretty crappy on everybody's front. But the cattle ranchers came out this week through their various trade organizations and union groups, and they blasted his decision to bring in more beef imports, saying it's not safe. You know, we've got the best beef in the world. We overwhelmingly supported Trump. Why are you doing this to us? So Trump responded this week. And he said this on Truth Social. The cattle ranchers, who I love, don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put tariffs on cattle coming into the United States, including a 50% tariff on Brazil. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as they've done for the last 20 years. Terrible. It would be nice if they would understand that, but they also have to get their prices down because the consumer is a very big factor in my thinking also. In addition to everything else, tariffs on other countries saved our cattle ranchers. Okay, no, let's address all of the falsehoods in Trump's post, which is pretty much every single word he said. The tariffs are actually the reason why cattle ranchers are having to raise prices on Americans because they're no longer able to sell overseas. For example, China recently struck a deal, and I've talked about this in the past, with Australia. They used to get a ton of beef from the United States. But because of the reciprocal tariffs, yada, yada, all that, China's like, screw it. Australia, hey, you're even closer. We know you guys actually have some really good quality beef too. Let's just do that. And Australia said, absolutely. Here you go. Boom. New trade deal. So American cattle ranchers lost a massive market and a lot of money. And so you can see that's where they started jacking the prices up for the U.S. because we got to make up for that income somewhere, right? So kind of crappy on them. But, you know, again, if you're a business, you want to make a profit, you got to make up losses, blah, blah, blah. But Trump's tariffs are hurting these people. They are doing worse under him. And they're doing worse under him because of him. It's not circumstances beyond Trump's control. It's literally the circumstances that he created for them that is causing them to do so poorly. I actually, on social media, on Instagram, I do follow a couple butchers, and they ship nationwide. And recently, after what happened in September, they all kind of came out as like MAGA. And then last night, I was scrolling through, I saw the same company again, and posted a video pissed off at Trump now. Like, only 2 videos they've done that weren't, here's how we, the portions of meat you get, whatever. One was on Charlie Kirk, and now this one on, wow, Trump, you've screwed us over. So kind of interesting to see that massive change. But again, y'all did vote for this. And again, farmers in general, ranchers, all of them, that entire agriculture industry, y'all went through hell during his first 4 years. You suffered during his first 4 years. And yet most of you voted for him 3 times. It's like if somebody says, don't put your hand in the bear trap, you're going to get hurt, and you do it anyway. So we get you out of the bear trap, and we're like, all right, just please don't put your hand back in the bear trap. You remember how bad it hurt last time? And they're like, oh, yeah, but I just want to see if it still hurts. Ow! Oh my God, the bear trap's back on me. So, okay, we take the bear trap off you a second time, and we're like, for the love of God, don't put your hand back in the bear trap a third time. It's hurt you both times. Okay? We can't keep bailing you out like this. Okay, but I'm going to stick my hand back in it. No, darn it, it hurts so bad. Why does it hurt? Why would the bear trap do this to me? And at that point, it's like, you know what? You just have a bear trap on you now. You just live with that. We warned you. We helped you. We tried to educate you. But by God, you wanted to stick your hand in the bear trap. Get it off yourself. Maybe you don't share my mentality on that. But honestly, that is where I am now. There's only so many times we can take whatever body part it is of theirs out of the bear trap. There's only so many times we can tell them to stop putting it in the bear trap. At some point, they have to realize they screwed up, they got themselves into this mess, and they have to take responsibility for it.